Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. That's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit. And today we're going to talk about what happened in the divisional rounds and maybe a little bit of the head coaching searches going on.
Yeah, great weekend of football. Some really exciting games. Considering the wildcard round was mainly blowouts, it was great to see some close games with some great football teams this week. So, yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Well, let's just start at the beginning. A game that wasn't shocking, but you and I thought it would go a different way. That's the Texans versus the Ravens. That was a 24-point ass kicking that neither of us seen coming.
Yeah, I think, I don't think I was surprised while watching it. I think, whilst actually watching the game, I was like, yeah, this makes total sense. We would have betted it the other way because wanted a pretty much double-digit point spread in a playoff game when one of the teams is just coming off an excellent playoff win, and the other team has been resting for pretty much 2 weeks back to back. And on top of that, they look like good matchups. And what was crazy about this game, it was 10-all going into half time. And it just got out of hand after that. Was pretty crazy. A very impressive win from the Baltimore Ravens.
What got me was that the Texans scored 0 offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens defense is legit. Like, it is so incredible. The Texans, to me, it looked like they had their Super Bowl last week. Like, it looked like they came in with just enough energy for the first half of the game. They expended all of their energy in the first half, and then you could kind of see, and on the offensive side of the ball, things weren't flowing. Things weren't flowing nicely. Bobby Slowick basically put himself towards the front of the head coaching carousel with his performance last week. This week, it was like he had to kind of inspire everything with gadget plays, and nothing in a traditional offensive style was working. Tried to move to gadget plays. I'm not saying that Bobby Slowick had a terrible game coordinating or anything. It's just that Ravens defense really put the pressure on them. You saw the golfing class. And to me, the Texans look like they played their Super Bowl on the wild card round game a little bit. That's when their offensive stars came out to play. And it also really didn't help them that they were giving up false starts and other penalties all the way through the game. Every time they got into positive down yardage, a third and short, there seemed to be a false start immediately. What doesn't get a lot of credit when we talk about noisy stadiums around the league is that stadium up in Baltimore. Like, when we talk about noisy stadiums, Baltimore never comes up, but that place was rocking.
Yeah, and I don't know, that whole offense looked bad. Like, Stroud went 19 of 33 for 175. Singletary couldn't get anything going with 9 carries for 22. I mean, Nico Collins even had 5 catches, but it was only for 68 yards when he was their only bit of offensive production. That becomes a problem. And then Lamar went fucking crazy because Lamar, now he only had 152 yards passing, but he had 2 touchdowns. And then he had 11 carries for 100 yards and another 2 touchdowns. Lamar's in the playoffs, going off, doing Lamar type shit.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson showed why quarterback play isn't all based on stats, right? Because the MVP chat all the way through the year, Brock Purdy's been putting himself up for MVP. Dak Prescott's put himself up for MVP. But I think Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes this week as well, we'll get onto both of those games, showed why it's not a stats-based position at the quarterback, because there's so much context to that. Lamar didn't have to do much outside of getting his easy checkdowns in the pass game, and the Texans did a pretty decent job of shutting down the pass game. But what all they had to do in the second half is run out the clock. And Lamar Jackson got exactly the amount of yardage he needed. Like, he wasn't breaking off whole massive 60-yard runs. He was just breaking the outside, getting the first down. when it was required. And it was a really impressive game from Lamar Jackson. Really answered a lot of questions for me in that game as well, for people who had the narrative of, can Lamar Jackson win playoff games? Can he do it on this big of a stage? Is this too big of a step for him in the playoffs? Well, I think he was the star of the show in that game. I think he played with so much poise. He was so cool on the ball. I think he really showed us why he's going to be the MVP of the regular season, because he's been doing that all year. He just hasn't had the impressive stat lines to go with it. Why he's going to be the MVP of the regular season, and why he deserves that first team All Pro.
Yeah, and I said it all year. People thought I was crazy. You've heard me. I was telling people, watch out for Zay Flowers, and he only had 4 catches, but 2 of them and that one on the sideline shows why Zay Flowers is so fucking amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And he makes big catches in the big moments as well. Baltimore did exactly what they needed to do in that second half. In that second half, they came out and they took care of business, because they saw that the Texans' defense was stellar as well in that first half.
Both number 1 seeds came out slow in the first half, though. So there's something about that bye. They just were a little rusty.
Yeah, I'm not sure how slow the Ravens actually came out and how much it was to do with amazing Texans defense. Like, they came out much slower than they did once they got a hold of everything and started like playing their game, and once they got in front with both of these number 1 seeds, actually, especially in the case of the 49ers, but the Ravens as well, you want to get in front of them early. So that's why the Texans received the ball. They didn't get the point. You want to get in front of them early, because it takes away from what they do best if they have to play from behind. Well, the Ravens never gave the Texans the chance to get in front early, even when their offense was off, like playing off, because the Texans' defense was incredible. So the then offense warms into the game, and they scored 24 points in the second half, not giving the Texans a sniff. That game was over by mid-third quarter.
Yeah, and I kind of saw the first half differently, because the Texans, I thought, were out of position a few times where the Ravens could have capitalized, and they just missed. And Likely was open on a couple that I thought, oh, fuck, how did Lamar not see him there? I think a lot of it was just rust and getting back into it, but it's all perception at that point.
Yeah, I think the way that I watched it is the Texans blitz was very successful in the first half. Now, that could be down to rust as well, because I do think the offensive line missed quite a few assignments that they didn't miss in the second half, actually. So a few blown assignments, and then Lamar's scrambling, and then you understand having to missing plays down the field. So maybe that does come up to rust, like missing the assignments. But whatever happened, they went in at halftime, sorted themselves out on the offensive side of the ball, and just went, look, we're better than these guys. We've got Lamar Jackson, and Lamar played a fantastic game. It was a perfect playoff game in that second half of football. They never let them into the game. And I don't think the Baltimore Ravens defense has had enough spoken about them throughout the season. Like, it's always been the Browns are the best defense, the Cowboys are the best defense, the Chiefs have even had a few calls as the best defense. This Baltimore Ravens defense is incredible in pretty much every position on the field, especially their linebacker core, which I remember going back, maybe 2 drafts ago now, saying how if you have a stellar linebacker core, everything can kind of fall into place around it, which is a weird thing to say. And it has to be like an unbelievable linebacker core for it to work if you're going to build from the linebacker core, because really you should be building from defensive end or cornerback, depending on what your scheme is. But if you get those guys at linebacker, they can stuff the run, they can blitz the passer, they can drop back in coverage, they can be a real pain in the arse. And those Ravens linebackers are a pain in the arse. I think that's why Devin Singletary didn't get anything going, because the tackling was excellent from the Ravens.
Well, I will say that they need to be slapped for putting Queen in coverage against a fucking running back. Like, what the fuck are you doing? There is no way he can keep up with a running back down the sideline. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking on that, but they did that a few times too. And I'm like, that's the last guy you want out there chasing the running back. So like, let Delvin Cook get in space and try to get fucking Queen to fucking cover him. Now I know they're on the same team, or get one of these other guys.
Yeah.
You're tore up. Like, they're lucky they were playing the Texans and their running backs don't catch well out of the backfield.
Yeah, they're lucky that it's Devin Singletary running down the sideline there. If they try and do that against Isaiah Pacheco this week, then they'll get or not even Isaiah Pacheco, like McKinnon. If they get McKinnon running out of the backfield,
even
like
Clyde
if Andy Reid sees that,
can catch the fucking ball. Like, I'm not sure you want your linebacker covering him down the sideline on a go route.
Yeah, if they see that, if they see that, they can dial it up for whoever's coming out of the Kansas. And Andy Reid will see that. He'll test that early. So that is something that they need to fix. But I think their linebacker core basically.
Well, yeah, it's nitpicking at this point, but there was times where I was like, "What the fuck are you putting Queen into fucking coverage for right there?" That was, if anything, bring a third safety out if that's what you need to do. But like, I just thought it was wild to try to cover the running back with the linebackers. The Ravens defense is going to cause problems for teams. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but I think next week they got a matchup that is not great for their defense. So we'll talk about that later in another show. But so I think when you get to the playoffs, it's a lot like boxing and MMA where styles make fights. And I think that's what's going to make next week so intriguing in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think the Ravens against a team like the Texans, where look, this Texans team, they don't have playoff experience. They don't yet. They're a young team, and where they're not young, it's players who haven't been to the playoffs because they've been playing with the Texans for a while now. The Ravens bully you. Like, the Ravens are a team that comes, especially the defensive side of the ball, they come out and they bully you. The amount of Texans injuries in that game, it got hampered by injuries in the first half, but that's just wearing you down in classic playoff style football. And in the cauldron that they had in Baltimore, that's got to feel pretty horrible. And it was cold out there as well, getting hit, when you're coming down from Texas and playing in a dome and all of that, not trying to hit that cold narrative too much, but getting hit and getting bullied. And it was a bad matchup for the Texans on offense in hindsight. Now, Kansas City, and we'll talk about them in a second, they have this playoff caliber where they've been in these big hitting playoff games, and they have an offensive coach who can move the pieces. So let's see how they come across, how they do their hard-hitting defense against a quick, fast team like Kansas City.
Yeah, and part of me wants to see the Ravens and the 49ers in the Super Bowl just because I'd like to see the chess match between that offense and that defense, because if anybody can out-scheme that defense, it would be the 49ers offense.
Yeah, definitely. I think Andy Reid has a good chance of out-scheming any defense. Does he have the talent available for him?
No, I do, but I think if you look across the board with the offensive line, with McCaffrey, with Debo, with Ayuk, they make it. Yeah. If it's them and the Ravens, they're going to put a lot of pressure on that Ravens defense. All right, well, let's talk about that 49ers team and the Packers. I know you got some things to say about Mr. Purdy, so I'll let you lead the way, and then I'll respond to you.
It doesn't have too much to do with Brock Purdy. I think it's just, when I was doing my notes, I've done it in order as well, and I kind of had the tagline for Lamar of Lamar shows why stats aren't everything. And I think in this game, Brock Purdy showed why stats aren't everything as well. So Brock Purdy has the best stats in the regular season. If you go through his entire MVP vote, which is a very fair MVP vote, by the way, I'm on the side of being an excellent game manager like Brock Purdy isn't a criticism. It's a good thing. That's his specialist skill. The fact that he's able to do this, but he did look really off in this game. And I think it was largely down to the weather, which is an interesting thing for a guy like Brock Purdy to be down for, because he seemed psychologically down in the game, is what I wanted to kind of hint at. he came out of the game he came into the game wearing a glove. He never looked kind of right in the game. Like do you remember the play where he drops back and he's wiping his hands to dry them mid drop back? Like, I think he was very in his head about the weather, which is not something that you really want to see. Also, I think, so Brock Purdy throughout the season, 47% of his yards come after the catch. Now, that is thrown to the open guy. Like, don't get me wrong, but like the scheme, like, really does help Brock Purdy out there. So a lot of the stats, percentage of from behind the line of scrimmage. Yes, they're behind the line of scrimmage, but he throws them 5 yards. Yeah, but because he throws them 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage and then they break off for 40. Like 47% of his yards are after the catch. So like they're good throws. I'm not saying that he's like check down Charlie or anything.
I just think he had a rough first half coming off a bye. I mean, he's his second year, 2 years going to the NFC Championship game. The kid drives him down for a game-winning drive. He put up 252 yards. I don't get the hate that's coming from everybody on Brock Purdy. He's getting a lot of heat for this game. And I'm like, he's a second-year player on his way to the NFC Championship for the second time, threw for 252 and led them to win that game at the end. I don't get where the heat's coming from.
Yes, I do want to give him credit for the win. I don't want to come off as like a Brock Purdy hater because I think it is like the fact that he drove them down the field. But the context of that drive down the field is Brock Purdy threw for 47 yards. He threw 35 of those yards on a 5-yard out route to George Kittle, and George Kittle takes it another 30 yards down the field.
That's their offense.
And then the final touchdown.
He's doing what he's playing.
Yes, I know. So that's what I'm saying though. His excellent skill is that he's a good game manager. And like that is not a criticism. Like he is a good game manager.
That is the biggest criticism in the NFL.
It's not a criticism.
You know it is.
It's not a I don't mean it as a criticism. It's his super skill is that he is a game manager. However, I do think if you put other quarterbacks into that system, they would also be in this same point. Whereas Brock Purdy actually put them in a position to lose the game. The reason that Brock Purdy had to drive down the field, having an out route for 5 yards, which goes for 30 yards in George Kittle, and then Christian McCaffrey finishing it off with a 20-yard run to end the game because of poor tackling, is because the Green Bay Packers let Brock Purdy off the hook. So Savage drops a pick six. They also drop another interception at that point of the game. Carlson misses a field goal. There's a deflected pick for the Packers from Love as well. There's poor tackling on both of McCaffrey's touchdowns, which, again, no fucking shade to McCaffrey. So I do think, look, the Packers didn't look like the same Packers that played against the Dallas Cowboys the week before. And the big plays they didn't come up with when they came up against them with the Cowboys. They didn't come up with them against the 49ers. And maybe I'm just butthurt, and that's fine. But Love also crumbled down the stretch. So Brock Purdy got better throughout the game, 100%. Love was stellar to start the game and got worse in the second half as well. Jordan Love is
I don't think he got worse. I think that San Fran's defense stepped up. And I think that's the big difference. Like the Cowboys defense didn't play any defense whatsoever. Yeah. And San Francisco in the second half said, fuck that, we're going to win this game. And I don't think that and Jordan Love didn't even have 200 yards. Like it was all on the back of Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Jordan Love misses a check down on 3rd and 2 in the fourth quarter. Like he misses a check down. That one, he misses the throw, which is an open check down on 3rd and 2. And he could have run for the 2 yards to get the third down as well.
And you don't think that has anything to do with San Francisco being in his head with what they've been doing all game?
But what? There's two open yards right in front of him with an open check. He's already broken the pocket, so he's outside the pocket. There's 2 yards there. It's right in front of him. Like I'm not saying it's not anything to do with the 49ers, but that's a crumble of pressure for me.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with that. The 49ers have that all those players, and you're in your own head thinking about it.
But there was nobody anywhere near him.
I don't mean on that play. I mean in general. Like you're playing against the 49ers, the best front in the NFL.
Oh, yeah,
Some of the best corners. Like you don't think they were in his head? Because I don't know why anybody's even talking positive about Jordan Love. Less than 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was Aaron Jones who carried them in that game. I think the 49ers shut down Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Jordan Love crumbled down the stretch as well. Like they were in a position to, the Packers were in a position to win. They should have been in a stronger position to win if they didn't drop those 2 interceptions as well. One of which was an obvious pick six that Savage, who is also the guy who got the, who was a guy who got the pick six against the, or got a pick against the Cowboys as well, like drops a pick six. He didn't, like Jordan Love didn't look dialed in.
No,
there was a
Jordan
lot of weather
Love
around
had
in that
4
game.
interceptions in that game.
Yeah. Also, that's the last thing I wanted to mention on Jordan Love. That last interception to end the game, well done, Packers. You've got Brett Favre. Like, you have found your new quarterback of the future. You have Brett Favre. How many Super Bowls did they win with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers?
That's so disrespectful to Brett Favre.
How many Super Bowls did they win with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers?
They each got 1, but that's more than most quarterbacks get in their career. And how many? And Brett Favre went to what, 4 or 5 NFC Championship games?
Yeah, so they each got 1, and one of the reasons why Brett Favre only has 1 is because of those reckless interceptions. Jordan Love throws that is a reckless interception. It is brutal on Brett Favre to compare him like that. But the Packers fans have been saying, we've got Brett Favre, we've got Brett Favre. Yeah, you do. You have the bad part of Brett Favre if that's how he's going to play.
I have not heard one single Packer fan call him Brett Favre either, which is wild because I live by them all.
Really? No, it's online all the time. Maybe I'm just
I hear the Rodgers comparison every day, but
yeah, maybe it's more Rodgers than Brett Favre.
I just think that was the most disrespectful thing ever said to the player Brett Favre. Fuck the person Brett Favre, because we don't even need to get into the personal shit. But I don't know. Brett, I grew up watching Brett, and Brett's one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever watched play.
Yeah, that was probably a bit over the top. It was the interception, though, was Favre-like. Do you know what the interception was? It was Tony Romo-like. That's what that interception was like as well.
It was like Dak Prescott-like.
No, Dak Prescott makes just like simple throws from the pocket with a terrible read and throws the interception. Like at least Jordan Love is thrown outside trying to do something fucking crazy.
I think Aaron Jones was the only reason the Packers were even in that game. And I think if they played that game again, the 49ers beat them by 20. I think it was a lot of rust coming off of the bye. I think the Aaron Jones played the game of his season. I think the Packers are getting way more love for this game than they should. Like, their defense played just well enough to keep Joe Barry's job. So, yay, good for you. Like, you're going to keep the worst defensive coordinator in the league because of 2 playoff games.
Yeah, like in my notes, I've got the Packers let the 49ers off the hook. Like, I don't think the Packers played particularly well. I think in these playoff games, things that the media are calling near misses are actually massive mistakes. So if we go back to the Ravens-Houston game, the Ravens-Texan game, just after the second half, the Texans corner, can't remember the name, drops an interception, and then Lamar Jackson 15-yard QB draw, and then that was the game. That felt like the game right there because that put the Ravens up by, I think it was 10 points. And then once they were up by 10, it was like, okay, this game looks like it's over. They're just going to run the ball down their throats. So that's a massive mistake on that Texans cornerback. It's also massive mistakes dropping the pick six. Like, it was a gimme pick six. It was right in his breadbasket.
I get what you're saying, but there was 2 other balls that should have been picked by the 49ers too. That's just football. That's what happens.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Packers made that massive mistake and let the 49ers off the hook rather than the Packers played well to be in the game.
I don't think the 49ers played so well,
poorly.
But I think the 49ers more let the Packers off the hook of getting smoked than at no point did I feel like the Packers were even going to win that game. And the way Jordan Love was playing, I just assumed more interceptions were coming. There should have been two more if there wasn't dropped, just like you're saying they dropped the pick six. I'm just saying like this love for the Packers in that game, and I'm not saying it's just like you're giving you see it all day. It's like where is it coming from? What did they do? Like besides Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, just to go through the Packers' mistakes actually in letting the 49ers off the hook.
Did you write
in this
down any
game.
of the 49ers mistakes because or are we just taking the Packers mistakes?
Well, no, I'm taking the Packers' mistakes, saying that they played poorly. Like
I know,
I
but
don't
you're
think
like
the
they
Packers
dropped
played all
that
too
pick
well
six,
either.
so they should have won the game or however.
Okay,
But like the 49ers dropped two other picks and actually intercepted two of them.
Yeah, the 49ers also had a block field goal. They dropped two pick sixes, and they also they had blown coverage on the pass to the back right corner to number 80, who caught the touchdown for Jordan Love, which is just an acres in space. And Jordan Love also nearly overthrew that pass, by the way. Like the guy who slipped on the floor. And I messaged you and said, the 49ers need to start wearing longer studs when they come out in the second half. But somebody slipped over in coverage and totally blew coverage as well. So it was on both sides of the ball. But just to sum up the Packers game here as well, dropped a pick six. Bad. They got an unlucky spot on 4th and 1, but like they also didn't make it on 4th and 1 easy. Like it wasn't overturnable, that 4th and 1 bad spot, because they didn't make it clear enough that they made it. The deflected pick from Jordan Love, where it's so badly overthrown over the top of his head, and then Kraft bats it up in the air as well, just to add insult to injury on that one. Poor tackling on the two touchdowns that McCaffrey had. Obviously, tackling McCaffrey is an absolute fucking hard job anyway. And Carson missing that field goal as well, which was a 50-yarder in the wind. But yeah, so Jordan Love the Packers didn't look great either. And the 49ers, that drive down the field was enough to say, okay, like, yes, they're back. Like, the 49ers are back. And McCaffrey looks stellar. And just to add to this, Purdy did do it without Debo, which is what we've been asking him to do for a while. So my issues are how psychologically weird Purdy looked in the rain. Like, he just looked like the rain had got to him. And I don't know whether it's just like second-year jitters in the playoffs, and then he came clutch in the
He had
final drive
a good second half. That's why I don't like the hate he's getting is just it's pouring out from every news channel, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, and they're saying how good Jordan Love played, but Purdy outplayed the fuck out of Jordan Love. So I don't understand where the media comes off on this. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but you saying all of this makes it feel like you think that the Packers were the better team and could have won that game, and I don't feel like it was ever even close.
I think the Packers,
but like the play, I just kept watching the 49ers, and they were just chunking away. And I just watched the Packers make bad decision after bad decision since the beginning of the game. And I keep hearing all these talking heads talk about how the Packers should have won that game, and I don't feel like that's even the case, and I feel like that's a bad narrative. I mean, the 49ers had a bad first half coming off the bye, but after that, they just put it in gear, put their head down, did what they needed to do, and went and took that game from the Packers. Like I said, the only thing that was weird to me is they couldn't stop Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I'm saying there's slightly more nuance to the takes that have been going on in the sports media, where Brock Purdy, I don't think played particularly well.
Who played better?
The 49ers or what? Brock Purdy or Love?
Yeah.
I have also said that Love played shit. I said they're both.
Yeah, but like that's my thing. So who
terrible.
played better? I'm asking. Who do you think played better?
I think they were both equally bad. Like looking at the game.
Really? Brock
I think
Purdy,
Jordan Love made
252 and a touchdown. Love had two interceptions with 194.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's thrown to guys that like he's 5 yards and then they make an instant another 5 yards because of the scheme.
That's how you play football.
Yes, I know. That's why it takes more nuance with Brock Purdy for how good he is and how good he is on the stats and how good he is as a quarterback. Look, I think Brock Purdy should be the second player in the MVP race this season. Like I think he should be. Like I think he should go Lamar Jackson.
I don't understand though how even you now you're like, oh, they both were just trash in that game. Like Brock Purdy's second half wasn't though, and Brock Purdy didn't turn the ball over. Brock Purdy drove them down for a
Brock Purdy should
have
turned the ball over.
Huh?
Brock Purdy should have turned the ball. Brock Purdy should have turned the ball over.
Did he?
He had 2 gimme interceptions.
Did he do it?
He had 2 gimme interceptions. Two absolute. And
Jordan Love would have had 4 then if we're playing the.
Yes, and Jordan Love also played shit.
So then, by your argument, this year Dak should have probably had 10 or 12 more interceptions than he did.
Well, I don't think Dak threw as many turnover-worthy balls within the games, but I'd have to go back through them. But Brock Purdy was lasering them to the 49ers.
Drop balls though, and it's only being used against Brock Purdy.
I've also used it against Jordan Love in this particular.
You just said they both played horribly the same. Like they were both just equal to trash.
I just said they both played equally trash. Yeah.
So Jordan Love's, let's say all those interceptions were caught. Jordan Love's 4 interceptions to Brock Purdy's 1.
Brock Purdy's 2.
Okay.
Brock Purdy's give me 2. 1 pick 6.
Like yardage. So those 4 interceptions equal to the 2. They're a wash. Like that's the thing I don't get. Like Brock Purdy outplayed Jordan Love. To me, there's that's where I get the whole thing's wild. The hate for Brock Purdy.
I just want to reiterate again that I don't hate Brock Purdy. I think
throughout the season, Brock Purdy,
hitting on Brock Purdy, in this game, throughout this season, for me, he was the second best quarterback in the NFL this year, behind Lamar Jackson. I would give him second, and then probably Patrick Mahomes third, and Dak down in fourth, and we go from there. But in this particular game, I think the only reason that Brock Purdy had to go down the field and drive, it was just so similar to the Cleveland Browns game that they lost, where he made the drive down the field and they missed the field goal, that the reason that they're in that position for me was because of Brock Purdy's poor first half and him missing throws.
To me, it's kind of like people going, well, yeah, McCaffrey had 98 yards, but they weren't really good yards because he bounced off some tacklers, which he's done all year. So that's more him than poor tackling. Or that's like saying, well, the Packers the Packers should have got beat by 30 because there was missed tackles on Aaron Jones. So like that whole, it could have been an interception. That stuff's wild to me because it's either it was or it wasn't. That's like sports, right? Like it happened.
I don't know. I think it requires a bit more nuance than that. Like Dak Prescott's turnover season, however many of them were off deflections off his own wide receivers, for example.
So Dak's interceptions are inexcusable, but a drop one that wasn't even an interception is a murdering offense.
That's the one I was saying. That on the other side of it is that Dak's interceptions in the last game, were on him. Like basically, Jay, I'm just saying the Packers caught those fucking interceptions against Dak Prescott. They absolutely snaffled them against Dak, and they dropped them against Brock Purdy.
We talked about it the other time how Dak should have had a couple more interceptions in that game, but he didn't.
Yeah, he definitely should.
Because it didn't happen. I'm gonna quote George Kittle: "Go Pack, go the fuck home." That was the best quote from yesterday at all. Go Pack, go the fuck home. Nobody hates.
I just want to finish on Jordan.
The only person who hates the Packers more than me is George Kittle.
Yeah, that's fair. Jordan Love also looked like beginning of season Jordan Love. Just a reminder to the Packers that Jordan Love isn't all that, which is what we've been saying all year.
That's not even my argument. I can't believe this Brock Purdy hate that's going on. That's what's got me. This blasphemy of hate from a guy who went for 252 and a touchdown in a game-winning drive and back-to-back NFC championship games.
He clutched out in the end of the game. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I think you could put lots of quarterbacks behind that 49ers team and they would do that. However, Brock Purdy is the guy behind that 49ers team and is doing that. Like Jimmy
I mean,
Garoppolo took them to a
we can assume all we want,
yeah,
but nobody knows for sure, right? And we watch Jimmy.
yeah.
I've seen idiots on TV
Jimmy G took them
comparing
to
him
the
to
Super
Jimmy
Bowl.
G. And
He's
I'm
better
like,
than Jimmy G.
get the fuck out of here with that comparison
Yeah.
to Jimmy G. And if you watch him all year, he's super accurate. He knows where to put the ball.
Yep.
He reads defenses. I just think he had a bad half, and the Brock Purdy hate for some reason is getting under my skin.
I think with
I'm not even a Brock Purdy, like big Brock Purdy fan, and it's still getting under my skin. Like, geez, like what the fuck?
I think with the comparison to Jimmy G, it's such an interesting comparison, right? Because Jimmy G took them to the Super Bowl, which is all fair. But if you look at the margins of win that Jimmy G had compared to Brock Purdy, like Brock Purdy is on that 49ers team blowing people out. Like, and Jimmy G is like dicing them up. It's really heavy on the run game.
Jimmy G beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game by throwing the ball 8 times.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the way to look at it. Brock Purdy is incredible at what he does. I think he has a habit, and we've seen it in the Browns game, and we've seen it in the Baltimore game, and I believe we saw it against the Packers. He has a bit of a habit when things are going a bit wrong to throw some reckless balls. He's 11th in the league in interceptions this year. So he can be a little bit reckless, but he is also amazing.
You do realize 2 out of the 3 teams you just named had the 2 of the top defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know. Like, I know what I'm saying. I'm saying Brock Purdy is great. I'm saying he's the second best quarterback in the league.
That is the most side of your mouth backhanded compliments ever.
I said he's the second best quarterback in the league this year, behind Lamar Jackson.
That's like me saying Matty's a great guy, but guess what this piece of shit just did?
No, it's like saying Matty's a great guy, but every now and again he hates on the Eagles a little bit too much. But that doesn't stop him from being a great guy.
That is not.
It's
like
just sometimes
that.
he's a bit over the top with the Eagles.
Like that is definitely not like that. Well, you want to talk about another game where I got a little bit pissed off watching, and it was a coaching matter that had me pissed off. Let's talk about those Buccaneers versus the Buccaneers versus the Lions, and why the fuck didn't they call that last timeout at the end of the game?
The Lions were melting down. Do you not think the Lions?
Yeah, but why didn't the Bucs call that timeout? Like,
yeah,
they both teams acted like the Bucs didn't have a timeout.
Yeah, it was so strange to me. He came off at the end and said, "Oh yeah, they were 10 points. They were just going to kick the field goal. There'd be 10 points up, and then that was." You don't know that they're going to kick the. This is the Detroit Lions,
and if they miss it,
they've never been here before.
And if they miss it, you're in great fucking position to have a couple plays to get to the end zone, and who knows what happens, and you have some Baker Mayfield magic, maybe like that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like the Bucs did not look fucking great at times in that game. But when you have a chance to win it at the end and your coach doesn't call that last time out and force them to kick the ball, like, and Dan Campbell's a wild man. Who knows if that dumb fuck doesn't say something like, "Hey man, let's get this first down, man, and put this away," and fuck that completely up too.
Yeah, look. Then the Lions deservedly won that game across the space of the entirety of the game. I do think they got in their heads a little bit at the end where they were lucky that Baker Mayfield threw that pick, because it looked like at that point, I text you saying this would be the most Lions way to fuck this up in history. When Baker throws that pick at the end, they gave the Bucs the opportunity to get back into the game. The Lions did go and score 14 points in the fourth quarter, so like obviously like wasn't that bad, but it was close until the fourth quarter. And then it became close again after that. Baker Mayfield threw for 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. And what disappointed me the most about this game from the Bucks' point of view, and we'll get onto the Lions and we'll say that the Lions played well and everything in a second. But what disappointed me the most from the Bucks' point of view, the Lions did the same thing to them all game long. They blitzed the corner. That's all they did all game long. They disguised the corner in the slot. He sat there, and I think he got like 3 or 4 sacks. Or one of them that you text me saying, "How are you going to let a corner wrestle you to the ground if you're Baker Mayfield?" Which I thought was quite funny at the time.
Just chuck that ball over the top of your receiver's head out the fucking sideline.
Yeah,
like, how the fuck are you doing?
They missed. It wasn't even blindside blitz. That's the other thing. Like, it was on the right tackle. The right tackle just missed him every time.
How do you keep leaving Hutchinson unguarded too? Like, how are you letting him come free? I don't care where the pressure's coming from. Why are you shifting off of Hutchinson?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, Hutchinson is their only legit pass rush weapon for me. And then they're also blitzing the corner from that side.
And there's zero teaming him.
Yeah, you should be double teaming him, but the blitz is also coming largely off. No, I'm just trying to work out the sides. No, maybe it wasn't coming from Hutchinson's side.
I'm just saying, I'd rather make my fucking quarterback deal with the corner. Like, if you're a defender, the rule usually is the first person who's going to be danger, right? So who's going to get to the quarterback first? Unless it's the corner and Aiden Hutchinson. Block Aiden Hutchinson and let fucking Baker deal with the corner, or let the running back deal with the corner. But don't make Baker or the running back deal with Aiden Hutchinson. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, I actually thought after the game, like, there should have been some firings. Like, I even thought Todd Bowles should have been dumped in that after that game, because he just did again what Todd Bowles seems to do, and he's all nonchalant and calm, and he's like, we're just going to punt it away instead of going for it and play defense. Well, that fucking turned out great for you. There was a few times on 4th down that this is a playoffs, go for it. Like, I didn't get some of the calls on that team either. If you can't tell, like, that coaching staff had me screaming at the TV.
Yeah, it's like the coaching staff of the Bucks didn't have. It felt like they didn't have them ready to play. Like, it felt like it wasn't a playoff game to them. I think you're right in the nonchalant style. Like, that nonchalant style is all fine. Like, I used to quite like being coached by like one guy who was more like chill and everything like that. But if you don't have the enforcer to go with that and say, no, we're fucking going for this. Like, this is playoff football now. You better play hard. And I refuse. I can't believe that the offensive coordinator was saying, leave Aiden Hutchinson unblocked, leave the corner unblocked again. Like, I can't believe he was saying that. So that's player, but that's also then down to the coaches, because you're not getting your players ready and putting them into the place to succeed. So
there's a rule in football. If you're being blitzed by a corner, throw to that side. Like, how are we not, you see the corner coming and hit the fucking hot route on that side. Like, I didn't understand that either. That's kind of on Baker. But, like, there was so much going on.
I don't think there seemed to be a hot route on that side.
Huh?
I didn't think there seemed to be a hot route on that side on all of those, because that rule is the one that you go
hot
for.
route,
so you expect when you're in trouble. Slant.
When you're in trouble and they're coming from that side, the hot route changes for the quarterback to the slant or the crosser on the side of the blitzer. So even if your hot route's on the right originally, when that blitzer comes from the left, now you know that slant route's your hot route because they can't double cover on that. So you just get rid of it. And even if you throw it over his head out of bounds on purpose, like, you can be in the pocket and throw it away as long as it goes over the head of the receiver.
Yeah, it felt like on those plays though, like when you look at the all 22 of those blitzes, because I was honestly so fucking amazed. Like, that, I think it was on the 3rd time I went back and watched them, and there wasn't Like there was nobody there. Like there's nobody on that side in that space to throw to. So I wonder if that's good work from the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator to spot that there's not going to be anybody there running that route. So then you blitz off there, and Baker should be launching that out of bounds. Baker does have a bit of a habit to try and make Baker Mayfield magic happen and hold on to the ball for a bit too long and those kind of things. But look, I personally think that Baker didn't have a bad game. Like I think that the interception at the end was obviously just horrible, like just not a good read and just him trying to do too much. I think Baker Mayfield sometimes forgets that he isn't the most athletic guy on the field and that he, like Baker Mayfield's touch is not good. Like, I love that Baker Mayfield's got his swag back. I'm so happy about it. What I need to not see him do is trying to lay balls into gaps, because every time he does that, he seems to just dolly up an interception. Just fucking try and laser it somewhere, Baker. Like that's who you are. Like you've got a cannon, and if you throw it out of bounds, you throw it out of bounds. But just laser that shit somewhere. Like that's. I think he didn't have too bad of a game. Like it wasn't great, but yeah.
It made me so mad. I am going to be the saltiest bitch in the world if somehow the fucking Lions make the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah, is it the Lions have they been to a Super Bowl before, the Lions?
They haven't won a championship since it was the NFL championship back 100 years ago or 100 and some years ago. But
they've been to an NFC championship game.
Not that I can remember. I don't think they ever made one with Barry Sanders, and they haven't made one since then. So not that I can remember.
Yeah, I know that Baltimore have never hosted an AFC championship game. This will be the first game that they've hosted since they were the Baltimore Colts. So the Ravens have never hosted an AFC championship game. Do you want to say something nice about the Lions?
Fuck Dan Campbell.
That's the nicest you've been about Dan Campbell.
I hate that guy. Like I literally kind of hate that guy. It's weird.
I think this team I liked him, and then I just really struggle. Really struggle with him. Me. As long as they're winning, it'll be fine.
The second he said he was biting kneecaps, I hated him. That was me. You know me. Opening press conference.
That was you.
Fucking couldn't stand him from the kneecaps on.
Yeah, look, I think they've got some absolute studs. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably I'm trying to think of a tougher wide receiver.
He's being wasted
in the league. Yeah,
he should be on a fucking different team.
Imagine Amon-Ra St. Brown on like the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan. But you can say that about most.
I fucking can't stand the Eagles, and I'd rather see him on the Eagles. I hate the Redskins, and I'd rather see him on the Redskins. Like, I'm sure
Amon-Ra St. Brown is incredible.
I'm sure you wouldn't want him on either of them.
I wouldn't. But yeah. I wouldn't.
Give him to CJ Stroud.
Goff. Yeah, that would be great. Jared Goff has played. I think Jared Goff has played excellent football all year. I think he had a bit of a downturn, like at points. But I think he's played well enough when they've got that running game, like behind them. Like he's played well enough. Do I like this whole when Dan Campbell came into the dressing room after the Rams and said possibly the cheesiest shit I've ever heard? He said, "You're good enough for Detroit. You're good enough for Detroit." And it's like, that's not a compliment, is it? Is that meant to be a compliment? Like what? It's like, well, you're good enough for Detroit, Jared. But yeah, I think he's played well. I think their defense was awful outside of like the blitzing seemed well timed. I think their defense was terrible. But like Mike Evans seemed to be free. At certain points, Mike Evans was just running free down the sideline, like on quite a few periods of the game. So good luck, Detroit, going forward.
And fuck you. All right. Let's talk about the Chiefs-Bills game. That game was pretty exciting. It was fun to watch. Neither quarterback played particularly well in that game, but it was still really fun to watch. And I'll say it again. I don't know what the ground did to Pacheco, but that dude runs like the ground did something wrong to him, and he is pissed off at the ground.
Yeah, so the Chiefs obviously play. I've always been known for playing a nice style of football where it's all these moving parts, these great offensive weapons. The Chiefs are now mean. Like the Chiefs are like a mean team. Like their defensive line is full of people who just want to hunt the quarterback and hit people really hard. Their cornerbacks and their secondary is pretty solid, but their running back just wants to exact revenge on every person that's in front of him. Isaiah Pacheco is incredible. I was really hot on him when he came out of the draft. I think he's absolutely awesome. Like, I love Isaiah Pacheco. I also think Patrick Mahomes had a pretty, like, a solid game. Like, not anything crazy. What I want to kind of,
I think he had 215. But I got a question for you, quick.
215.
Who do you think is the best receiver on the Bills right now?
It's Shakir. It's not Stephon Diggs.
Do you and I agree. Do you realize they have the same yards and Diggs has been targeted 80 more times?
What, like over the course of the season? Or yeah. I didn't realize it was that. I didn't realize he'd be getting that many. Shakir at the early part of the season was their surprise down the field weapon. So he did grab a lot of yards from that, but he looked better on the field. He looked way better on the field.
Do you think this is the time where we're finally going to see the Bills part ways with Stephon? And two parts to this question. Is it time to fire the head coach and go after a Vrabel, to go after a Bill Belichick, to go after one of these guys? Somebody is going to be left out. So if it's, his name, just PFF Bobby down at fucking the Texans.
Bobby Slowick.
There you go. I forgot his last name. Yep. He's out there. You got fucking you got Harbaugh.
I don't think Bobby Slowick will get a job.
But this is what I'm saying. Give him a job. Yeah. Like, somebody's going to be left out. There is going to be more than one of these coaches left out of the coaching carousel when the musical chairs stop. Is it Belichick who's not going to have a job? Is it Harbaugh going back to Michigan? Is Vrabel going to be the one out? Like, there's legit coaches out there. And did McDermott take you as far as you can go with him?
Yeah. Yeah. Look at you defending Mike McCarthy all last week, and now you want to fire Todd Bowles and Sean McDermott, who went a week further.
Yeah, but we're talking body of work. Like, Big Mike's been to 4 NFC championship games. Big Mike's got a ring. Big Mike makes the playoffs every single fucking year he coaches, like, almost. Like, it's just like there's a difference. There's a difference.
I'm playing with you.
And I know, but into that argument, Big Mike's an offensive coach.
Yeah, that's why I was about to go with it. So, like, Todd Bowles and Sean McDermott are both defensive coaches, and they, like, look, Todd Bowles, I think, is more up for firing. They won't fire him because of what Tampa was meant to be this year, because they didn't have a quarterback.
And their owners are cheap as fuck.
Yeah, Glazers. Fuck the Glazers. They got to they obviously got to the divisional round, which is impressive for the Bucs, but let's remember they went through the NFC South and the Philadelphia Eagles team that was like that fell apart by the end of the season. That Philadelphia Eagles team, they were tired. So they made it to the divisional round. With Sean McDermott, I think it's a question of both Sean McDermott and Josh Allen in this particular case of, can either of them win these big games? You're not going to get rid of Josh Allen. Like, that's not what you're going to do, because Josh Allen does have the ability to win games by himself.
Josh Allen can win a Super Bowl if you gave him the right players around him.
Yeah, I think the Bills roster is an interesting thing as well, because when you actually look at their roster and compare them to a lot of other teams, like at the start of the season, I said that the Bills were going to miss the playoffs. It was so close. It was one game one
You
game
mean
away
winning the
from them missing
division?
the
Yeah,
playoffs.
that was close.
Yeah. So close. They were one game out of missing the playoffs. But if they lost that game, 2 games out of missing the playoffs. But yeah, when you look at their roster, they're not actually that stacked like anywhere, especially if you consider Stephon Diggs is like how good is Stephon Diggs in this particular Bills system this year?
Well,
For me,
how good is Stephon
I'd
Diggs
get rid of
anymore?
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to call him washed, but he looked washed to me. For me, Sean McDermott is going to be a great defensive coordinator somewhere else. Like, I do think it's time for the Bills to step away from Sean McDermott. I think it's a parting of ways in a sense of, look, I've taken this team as far as it can go. It doesn't have to be Sean McDermott is shit, let's get rid of him. Like, he's done a great job. Like, the Bills have never, like, this has been like their most successful regular season since the Cowboys were last good, since like the mid 90s. So Sean McDermott does have that to him.
And Stephon Diggs is 30, so maybe it's time to move on from Stephon Diggs. He doesn't seem to like Josh Allen anymore. Like, honestly, if you watch through the year,
Yeah,
he just seems to be saying the right things, but not really meaning the right things. And if the worst thing that could have happened to Bills Mafia did, wide right. That is already a problem in Buffalo since they lost to the Giants with the kick wide right. So, like, they not only have they been living with that since, I think their kicker's name was Christie, but I don't remember who kicked that in the Super Bowl wide right in one of those 4 in a row Super Bowl losses. Like, so I don't know. That was probably the worst way you could lose that game too. I still think the Chiefs win that game if they make the field goal, but you never know.
Yeah, people are saying that, oh yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference. The Chiefs had 3 timeouts, 2 minutes to go. He beat you with 3 timeouts and 13 seconds to go once. Like, let's remember that, eh? Like, it wasn't like, let's also put this game into perspective.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, sorry, the Chiefs also fumbled the ball out the back of the end zone as well, which is just such a punitive rule. Like, I understand it's an okay, it's just a punitive punishment. Like, punishment does not
the most punitive rule in the NFL.
Yeah, we're missing out on so many. Like, if they fumble it out the back of the end zone, say, okay, you can have the ball back, but you have to go to the 10-yard line or whatever. Like, even that would be more fair than
even
lose
to the
20.
Ball. Yeah, kick them back to the 20 even. Like, instead of the touchback, you flip it around. But that is the wildest fucking rule in the NFL, and it's the one that pisses me off the most.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So even if he doesn't, so say he doesn't make the touchdown, they're not on the 1-yard line. They still get 3 points there that they're missing out on. Josh Allen, on 3rd and 9 at the end of the game, the play just before the field goal, he has 2 open options underneath to get those 9 yards. There are 2 options, or at least to make it 4th and 2, 4th and 1, and then you have it in like nice yardage. Josh Allen has been making like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 plays all game. Like, Josh Allen had an excellent game outside of this, but it's this part of Josh Allen's game that I find so interesting of, can he get the ball over the hump? Because it feels like at times this happens. So he's getting too greedy once the touchdown. The other thing with him getting too greedy on that play is he would have had the touchdown if he sat in the pocket and didn't, like, if he held for 1 millisecond longer. He scrambled too early. But once he scrambles, he's still waiting for the play over the middle for the touchdown, whereas he has 2 underneath to get those 9 yards. So that continues the drive there, and he missed that. It also happened in the Eagles game where he had a poor read with Gabe Davis. It also happened on another game where Gabe Davis ran the correct route, but you're meant to run out if your quarterback scrambles or whatever, like at the very end of the game. And then that leads to Jalen Hurts going down the field and scoring the touchdown to win the game there as well. So it's happened to him in a couple of big games where he's not quite got that thing to get them over the line. And then it leaves it in the hands of your kicker, who kicks wide right, who I feel really sorry for the kicker. He's deleted all of his social media since missing that kick. And and everything like that. Just a reminder, Josh Allen only threw for 186 yards and rushed for 72 yards as well.
I think the Bills got too cute on that last drive too. Instead of just trying to score, they're like, we're going to try to play the clock game, and then we're going to try to score with 0 on the clock. And fuck that. Go put it in the end zone. Make fucking Patrick Mahomes drive the length of the field and score another touchdown. If he does that, kudos. And maybe you still have enough time, 25, 30 seconds, to try to get back into field goal range. There was so much time left in that game. And I know people are going to be like, there was only like 3 minutes. Dude, for those two teams, did you guys watch? If you were saying that, did you watch last year? Like what those guys did in the last 2 minutes of a fucking game?
Yeah.
Like, go down there and just score a touchdown. Quit worrying. Don't worry about that clock until it's under a minute. Like, you know what I mean? Don't even think about that clock until it's under. Go put 7 up and make fucking Patrick Mahomes go put 7 up to tie you. And you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like the play call. I didn't like how like they were trying to play the clock. It just didn't feel right to me in that situation. And there's teams you do that to. There absolutely is, right? Like at the end of a game. But you're in the playoffs. You're trying to win go to the Super Bowl. This isn't a time to get cute. Just go do what you do and then make Kansas City do it again. Because maybe they do, but this is the NFL. You know how hard it is to score a fucking touchdown, even though Mahomes and them make it look easy at times. It's not. Make him drive 80 fucking yards and go score a touchdown after you guys put one in.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs have one of the best red zone defenses in the league as well.
I didn't like how like they were just so like, I don't even know what word to use, except I felt like the coaches were trying to get cute with the like run the clock and then picking certain play, like just fucking go out there and play. Just even I would have even mind with 3 minutes left in the game to see Josh Allen go no huddle right down the field.
Yeah, and like with that drive, like it looked like it was going to be a really impressive game-winning drive, but it did feel frantic. Like when you see teams do that, you see them work the ball down the field.
Yeah, methodically is more of a word that comes to mind right now.
That's what I was trying to work. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. They methodically worked the ball down the field. They weren't running the ball successfully. Like throughout that game, James Cook only had 61 yards. Yes, Josh Allen had 72 yards as well. Josh Allen is a fucking freak. But let's also remember, like, he fumbled the ball on that drive, and the Chiefs guy tried to pick it up to scoop and score. Like, and it ends up Dolan Kincaid saves Josh Allen's ass. Like, drop on the fucking football. So Josh Allen gets away with that fumble while he's running the ball as well. He's missing a few yards. It felt like they had to make the reason that drive took so long is it was going to 3rd and 4th down every time that they were having to make it. And look, it got down to 3rd down, and like blame the kicker all you want. Like that's fine. Like he also missed a few the week before. I saw a clip of Nick Wright watching the game saying, like, you all think this is going to go through, but this guy has missed 2 the week before. Like, he's got the jitters. He's missed 2 the week before. This isn't going through. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So, like, I understand with like Tyler Bass and like blame him and everything, but there's still 2 minutes left, and it would have gone to overtime. So it's then down to the flip of a coin, which the Bills haven't had good luck with against the Chiefs. Look, I think that personally,
now because of last year, you both get the ball. Like a touchdown doesn't end it anymore. They changed the rule. So
yeah, I think Sean McDermott, they won't. I don't think they will get rid of him. But if there's somebody sat in the cold like a Vrabel, I would want him over McDermott just to see if it can get any better.
If you were going to fire him, you would have had to fire him by today, is my guess.
I don't know, unless
otherwise you're so far
see
behind the coaching search.
Yeah, but unless you're just waiting to see where everything lands before you fire him, because you don't want to be left without McDermott either.
Shit. How many jobs are left open? Like, I'm just saying there's coaches out there. I think McDermott is a bad coach to keep. I don't think he's going to get you any farther than where he got you. And sometimes I think they win despite him because of Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think his defense is. I think he does his side of the ball very well, which is what you ask for on a coordinating coach. Like his defensive side of the ball, considering all the injuries that they've had, has done very well. I don't think he's head coaching. I just think sometimes you need fresh blood when you keep on going out the same way every year. Like it feels like the same thing every year. They get to a certain point in the playoffs, they meet Patrick Mahomes and they lose, or they meet Joe Burrow and they lose. Like, and when it gets to that point, it's like you've taken us as far as you can go. Let's see if a different voice is what we need in the building.
Like, okay, so this isn't even to like rile you up at all, but so they're like the Cowboys in the sense that they make it to the playoffs every year and then get bounced. Except, at least when I look at the Cowboys roster, I can go, okay, this is a really good fucking team. And I look at the Bills and I go, yeah, they have some good parts. Like,
yeah,
I don't
obviously
go,
the Bills
this
have
is a really good team. I go, yeah, they have some good pieces. Where I look at the Cowboys and I go, yeah, that's a really good fucking team, top to bottom. That's, and that's I don't like the construction of the Bills. I don't like the coaching of the Bills. Like, and I know I get on Josh Allen's ass for like some of the boneheaded plays, and I get on Josh Allen's ass for playing hero ball sometimes. And now the more that I think about it, it's like, does he have to? Does Josh Allen do that because he feels like he has to? Like, does he like know that if he doesn't make a play, his coaches are not going to put him in a position to win? Because it seems to me like the great quarterbacks that have good coaches, Patrick Mahomes, will make a play and make something awesome happen. But I think his belief is, oh, Andy's going to put me in a position to win this game. Like, I even believe Dak feels like that with Mike McCarthy this year after listening to Dak talk. Like, Mike's going to put us in a position to win. Like, I feel like, they always felt Belichick was going to put us in a position to win. Shanahan. I don't feel that. Like, I feel sometimes now maybe Josh Allen's like, I got to go out there and do this or we're not going to win. And that's a bad place to be in if you're a quarterback.
Yeah, I wonder if it is play calling. I do think maybe, look, Shakir is good. Stephon Diggs obviously has the pedigree.
He does.
And
his
a 30-year-old
Stephon
Diggs is still good. Yeah. I think if Stephon Diggs now eats some humble pie, goes somewhere to be the second wide receiver, like, I'd love for him to come to Dallas and play second to CeeDee Lamb. And with his brother there, does he feel happier? Is his attitude a bit better when he's not in the freezing cold of Minnesota or Buffalo?
Okay.
Let's see.
There's no wrong answer here, but do you think CeeDee Lamb's a better receiver than Stephon Diggs?
Over body of work, no, but over this past 2 years, yeah.
See, I feel Stephon's a better receiver, but I don't know for sure. I don't know.
I think it depends what kind of receiver you want. I think they're quite different, really. Like if I need somebody to go one-on-one down the field,
yeah, I wasn't
match
making
up against their best corner.
Just asking,
No, because I'm interested by it. What level of receiver is Stephon Diggs now? He's still got to be top 10, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, but like, without counting through. But yeah, he's top
10. It's again this thing of everything comes in levels, right? So the reason me and you are a bit harsh on Josh Allen at times is because we see play for him that reminds him of our quarterbacks, and our quarterbacks are considered the tier below Josh Allen.
Right. They
and Josh Allen's considered the tier above them.
But he does the same dumb shit that other people get crushed for. But because he's Josh Allen, he gets a pass. It's weird.
Yeah, that's why. So we hold him accountable for the shit. That doesn't mean we think he's terrible. Like, he's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Like, across their time in the NFL, he's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, definitely. So, yeah. So it's interesting to think of where Stephon Diggs is, because we shot on him, but obviously he's still going to be he's still a top 10 wide receiver. I think you can get a lot for Stephon Diggs, though. I reckon you can get a 1 for Stephon Diggs if you really wanted it.
Yeah, I don't remember what his contract's at right now, too, but he's probably below what all the top wide receivers are making right now. And then before we get out of here, like Brian Callahan's the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I don't think it's the worst hire, but it does make me wonder if all the big name head coaches told him we're not coming to Tennessee, so they just went and got Callahan. I'm not sure like what happened there and why they hired him so quickly, I guess. And then shout out to Las Vegas for keeping AP, staying in fucking Las Vegas to coach. I think it was the right move to keep Antonio Pierce for two reasons. Your players love him. They played for him at the end of the year. And number two, you fucked around and fired Versace. You fucked around and had a lot of head coaching flip over. Even if Antonio Pierce doesn't work out, at least everybody on that team agreed that they wanted him as the head coach. So I think it was a good decision.
Yeah, it might be nice to have a little bit of stability from the Gruden year, where at the end of the year, Derek Carr ends up leaving. Obviously, you have the whole time where Henry Ruggs gets in that.
And Devontae Adams better stop talking about Kirk Cousins. Talking about, I want Kirk to throw me the ball next year.
Kirk.
If you ain't coming to Minnesota, Kirk ain't throwing you the ball. Shut the fuck up. But, yeah.
Come to Minnesota. Yeah, so it would be really nice for the Raiders to have a bit of stability so they can sort out the other issues that are in the room. Like, if you've got a coach that's in good enough has the team in good enough hands to get like a non-embarrassing amount of wins, keep the culture in the right place, make sure players want to stay in the building. You're in Vegas. You could attract a lot of free agents. Like, as on top of that, you have like the opportunity to go fix, because there's loads of holes in this Raiders team. I think no matter who's coaching the Raiders right now, you're not getting through the Chiefs. You're not getting through. You're probably not getting through the Chargers with whoever's in charge there.
I think your biggest hole is quarterback.
Yeah, you have Sean Payton coaching the Broncos as well. So you're probably not going to really win anything if you're the Raiders. So you may as well try and fix the holes while the team's in safe hands and the culture's all good. Find your quarterback, because I like Aiden O'Connell. You can find better than Aiden O'Connell. I like Aiden O'Connell, but if I have Aiden O'Connell, I want to be looking for another quarterback.
Every quarterback in the NFL, as Maddie thinks, is a great backup.
Once you get past 15, once you get past the top 15, everybody's then just a backup where you're looking for better. In my opinion.
Yeah, that's the most.
No,
I think Aiden O'Connell. That's a wild statement. It does make me wonder, though.
Aiden O'Connell.
It does make me wonder what the Lions are going to do, because you have to pay Jared Goff, but you drafted a 25-year-old rookie to sit on the bench for a year, and now what do? You just let him sit there for 4 years and then he's 30 and out of the league? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Raiders are picking at 13. Which quarterbacks are going to be around at 13?
The new mock by Mel Kiper has the top three going in the first three, and then he's got J.J. McCarthy going at the end of the second round, Penix or end of the first round, and he's got Penix and the rest of them falling into the second or later.
All right. That's Penix is getting crushed for that game against Michigan.
I think it's the medicals. He's had a shoulder and two knees. Like, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Medicals as well. But if you're a team like the Raiders, where you have like Aiden O'Connell is an option, like Aiden O'Connell has shown enough ability to start in the NFL, then you take the punt on the medicals now. Like, if you think you have the right information, you trade down from 13
If you can, yeah, that's the weird spot though. Can you find a trade partner at 13? Like,
can you find a trade partner? But like, just for no matter what you get, though, really, isn't it? Like,
well, yeah, and there's a drop off. There's always a drop off in the draft. Is it at 8? Is it at 10? But there's always a drop off of these elite 8 players and then everybody else. So after you get past those elite guys, it's kind of hard to maneuver. But we'll see what happens. I do like that I see Mel Kiper finally jumping on board, and he's got Jaden Daniels going number 2 to the Commanders.
Yeah, Tankathon, I've got him number 3 to the Patriots at the moment. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, which I also think is fair. Yeah, the hire in Tennessee is weird to me. Like, I'm not really sure.
It's got to be for Will Levis, right? To bring him in to develop Will Levis. Like,
yeah, it's got to be you're giving him the credit for mentoring Joe Burrow, but I'm not sure how much better Joe Burrow's got since his time at LSU. Like, yeah, but, was he not? Was he
trying to
just
remember
at this
where
level
Callahan
in LSU?
was before that? Okay, he was Derek Carr's quarterback coach. That ain't saying much. He was quarterback coach for the Lions before Goff, so that ain't saying. Well, that Matt Stafford.
Well, Stafford, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was only 2 years, and it was his last 2. Like, you know, and then he was with the Broncos from 13 to 15. Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know. The highlight of his career is winning a Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning.
There you go. Well, he's been around some good quarterbacks. Look, I think it's like if you're doing it for that reason, then fine. Like, he's coached Joe Burrow. He's seen what it's like. Like, Will Levis and Joe Burrow have a similar kind of play style.
I don't think anybody coached Joe Burrow, but don't get me started again. How the coaches just got lazy when Joe Burrow was in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to me, that and look, Jake Brownling came out and did great. They have 2 number 1 wide receivers, by the way, in Cincinnati. Just reminder of this. They have 2 top 15. I'm going to have to go through and measure that to where T. Higgins is in wide receiver. At least 2 top 20 wide receivers in the NFL on their roster. And, like,
don't they?
They look
don't
flat.
They have to pay him?
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll be there.
Yeah, T. Higgins is an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, to me, the Bengals' offense has looked flat. I'm not really sure if he's the right fit for Tennessee, and it has to be. Everybody else said no, and they don't maybe they don't want to give the job to Bobby Slowick after 1 season, and
but you went to Ben Johnson Callahan. Said no. Like, that's not like you. You know what? I'm not shitting on Callahan, but
yeah,
if you're going to say PFF Bobby isn't good enough for the job, but Callahan is, and I think, and this isn't a shot at Callahan, but I've seen more from PFF Bobby in 1 year than I've seen from Callahan in his whole career.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm interested by that. So where do you think the big names are going then? Because we haven't got a lot. We haven't received a lot. I thought we
going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a reason why even more in a second. And I think Harbaugh or Vrabel are taking over the Chargers. I think it's Harbaugh if he wants it, but I'm not sure Harbaugh's not using this to leverage Michigan into that immunity contract where even if he gets suspended, he gets all of his money. I think I don't know for sure, but I think it's Harbaugh or Vrabel over there. And I'm curious to see what happens in Washington. That seems to be Johnson from the Lions, but I don't know if that's going to end up being true or not. Another reason I think Belichick is going to Atlanta is because Cam Newton came out and said, I would play again if it was for Atlanta. I don't think he's coming out. But he loved Belichick, and him and Belichick really like each other, and they're close. They're actual friends. Right. So I think he might know something. and may have accidentally slipped something out without meaning to tell on Belichick, right? You know, like that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of smoke around Belichick going to Atlanta. And you know the old saying, if there's smoke, there's probably fire, you know, and he's met with the owner. He's met with them twice now. I think if you're Atlanta, I don't think it'll get you to where you want to go, but fuck it. If you want to be interesting and put asses in the stands, hire Belichick, trade for Fields, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I don't see Fields in Atlanta if Belichick's there.
No, they're talking Kirk Cousins and Bill Belichick to Atlanta if he can woo them.
The
away.
Vikings aren't letting.
Well, and I'm like, there's no, Atlanta's got less cap room than us. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to pay him and do anything else. And how
the Vikings aren't letting Kirk go.
How is Atlanta's cap so fucked when they're so bad?
Like, how is their cap so fucked when all of their best players are on rookie deals?
Yeah, like I don't get it. And
they're two offensive weapons.
And the Matt Ryan money.
They're 3 offensive weapons.
Yeah, and the Matt Ryan money's gone. So where the fuck is?
Where's the money, man?
All 3 of their offensive weapons are on rookie deals, right?
Yeah, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. Kyle Pitts gets paid next year.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, what are you doing? Like, how is your cap that fucked?
Yeah, it's got to be from the defensive side of the ball, right? But the defense is like better than people give it credit for, but it's still middle of the pack defense.
When you're like, hey, the Atlanta defense, you're like, yeah, they're all right.
Yeah, they'll hold people down. Like, sure. Like, I'm sure they can get off the field most of the time.
It's just weird.
They do have a lot of big money players on the defense. On the defensive side of the ball. Like a lot of free agents on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and you're going to lose guys like Calais Campbell. Like, he can't play much longer. He's like 137. Like,
it feels like he's been in the league for as long as I've been watching it.
He's been in the league since you were born. Like, what the fuck? Like, what year were you born?
97.
So you were born 3 years before the Brady era started. Think of that.
Just 3 years before the Brady era started.
That's fucking wild. Crazy. That's wild. Oh my gosh, is that wild?
Yeah, I'm walking into my first year now because we didn't know whether Tom Brady was going to come back out of retirement. But this is my first year where there will be no talk of Tom Brady playing in the NFL this year.
Well, even though we just found out and how they kept that under the rugs that the 49ers tried to sign him in the offseason. When Brock Purdy was injured and they didn't know. Yeah, like they tried to Brady said thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, that quickly brings me on to a point about Brock Purdy that I forgot to mention in my praise for him. Brock Purdy's just come off reconstructive shoulder surgery coming into his second year of football and is the second best quarterback in the NFL. So I'm a Brock Purdy lover, Jay.
You guys and your slander of Brock Purdy, I just got to me today. I was like, I don't get this. I don't fucking get this at all. Like, there's literally 18 teams in the NFL that would fucking shoot somebody for Brock Purdy. And
yeah.
It's wild.
That would be an interesting thing to do.
If Brock Purdy was drafted where Trey Lance was drafted, he'd be praised.
I think Brock Purdy is praised. I think that particular game, I'm giving him the media hate him. The media fucking hate Brock Purdy.
He was the darling.
The media hate Brock Purdy.
Right, but he was the darling last year, and people hate him this year. It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand the hate for his entire year. Like, that's strange to me.
I had somebody tell me the other day, and then they quit responding to me. They're like, if the Packers wouldn't have lost to the Falcons, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, they'd have the same record as the 49ers, and they should have beat those teams. I go, so by your argument, the 49ers should have been 17-0 if nobody got injured? Like they just the wild stuff they make to come at the 49ers is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah. Like looking forward to the games, I think the 49ers have got it over the line. Like, I think the AFC Championship game will be more interesting. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I hope you're right. And anytime I say a team's going to blow out another team, they never do. So I'm just shutting my fucking mouth this week and going and making my picks. I'm not making any rash, bold comments while I'm making my picks.
We didn't have a good week this week, but that's okay.
Okay. We were completely ass this week, but we won't even fucking bring
1-4.
Yeah, we won't bring that up. Hey, that just means we're going to be perfect next week, and I think that puts us a game over 500 or puts me a game or two over 500. I'd have to go back and look what you did, but I think you're about the same.
We're the same through both weeks, weirdly.
Yeah, because we had different picks first week, but we both ended up with the same record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4-2.
Yeah.
Is it 4-2 and then 1-4? So 5. So we're currently 5-6.
Yeah. So if we sweep it, we're one game over. Yeah, on the playoffs. Yep. We're gonna sweep.
But we both basically said we were taking the money line on the Chiefs Bills game, so that's got to count for more, right? Surely.
I'll take it. All right, guys, we made it through an episode. Let us know what you think. The Brock Purdy shit got me a little steamed. I don't know why that getting under my skin all week. And I think it's more because the Lions are already under my fucking skin. Like, it just...
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
It irks the fucking shit out of me that they're in the NFC Championship game. It fucking pisses me off.
I think you can't blow up on the Lions because it'll make you look too much like a hater. So you just...
I don't care. I am a hater. Fuck the Lions. Like, I am a hater. I'll own the Lions hate. Fuck the Lions. Like, the truth is I think part of me hates them more because I watch Pat McAfee, and Foxy annoys me so much when he talks about the Lions that I literally want to punch him in his face. So, like, I think that helps me hate the Lions even more. And then Dan Campbell, it makes me hate the Lions.
Yeah, I think Dan Campbell's added to the Lions' hatred for me.
I never hated the Lions. I never hated them until Campbell got there. So that must be it. Like, I just hate Dan Campbell.
I'm excited to see them reveal their banner for got to NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell's got to stop saying, we coached them to take the knee out.
Great. Good for you, man.
Doesn't it kind of make him sound like a piece of shit? Like, we coached that. Like,
yeah, didn't like Sean Payton get like suspended for
Bountygate
for coaching his team to take out other players? Yeah.
Yeah. But
maybe we should write a letter.
I don't blame Bountygate because that's back when the NFL, everybody tried to take your quarterback out. That was nothing new. It was just it became a problem because there was money put on it. But, like, as a Vikings fan, even though we lost that NFC Championship game, I have zero blame on Bountygate. I blame everything on Childress for 12 men in the huddle and making Favre even have to throw that ball. That was okay, but don't even get me fucking started. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We'll be back with a preview. It's going to be a huge preview with a ton of games. Okay, 2 games, and we'll come back. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Tune in to see who we think is going to make it to the Super Bowl. That was a teaser. One world.
That show will still be an hour and a half.
One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.